What is up, guys? Kevin from the KO Sports Corner. It's been a long time, but we are back. NBA free agency starts today, Thursday, June 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And there's a lot to unpack, where players are going to go, what trades may happen, because with teams not having as much cap space as last season, the highest team is New York, which cleared a lot of cap. Detroit cleared a lot of cap. Those are the main teams to look at, but the free agency class isn't as strong as it was maybe last season or 2 seasons ago. So definitely going to look into a lot of sign and trade options and those options as well, but a lot of free agency news as well, who may go where, what players we may see on the move. A lot of Miami Heat rumors. Obviously, they're always interested in every player for some reason. But let's get into the first guy, and that's James Harden. He has declined his option to return to Philly. He will obviously, I think, go back to Philly on a longer term extension, maybe a 1 or 2, maybe even 3 year deal. That is what I do expect James Harden to do. Although he had a rough stretch in Philly, just going back to that place, he will, I think, hopefully get it going there, as he has just been absolutely dominant when he was in Houston. And at the start of his Brooklyn time, he was very well, a very good player. So I think this is definitely a good spot for Harden, just go back to Philly, prove himself, and get an even longer term extension there. Maybe that's Supermax, but he's not worth that right now. I think he's worth a 2 to 3 year extension, and he will be going back to Philly. The next player that came up on Spot Track was John Wall. He obviously bought out from Houston. I think he's just going to sign with the Clippers. The only other team that showed interest, I'm pretty sure, was Miami, and I think Milwaukee was the other team. I know the Lakers showed some type of interest. Obviously, they would have, and they need a point guard now, so that was one. Then there's Bradley Beal. This is a very interesting scenario because there's many places where Bradley Beal would fit. Portland, along with Damian Lillard, would be a very nice spot. Dallas with Luka Doncic would be a nice spot, especially if they can't get back Jalen Brunson. Then there's the Miami Heat, who is obviously always interested in everyone who wants to improve any way possible. That would be a sign and trade. You definitely have to give up Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and that type of a deal to get Bradley Beal, which I wouldn't mind. And then they could just sign some point guard to the mid-level exception. So that is definitely something to look at there. But Bradley, I do believe, will just go back to Washington. He'll sign the long-term extension. They'll try to get players around him to build what they are doing at the moment. So the next guy is Zach LaVine. I have him going back to Chicago or making his way over to Dallas. The only other spot would have been Portland, but I just don't see that as a possibility. Dallas would be the nicest spot for Zach LaVine, especially if Jalen Brunson doesn't come back. A lot of this point guard, shooting guard market, especially for Dallas, I think we'll rely on what Jalen Brunson does. Especially, it's just that, because then we'll know where Zach LaVine, maybe Bradley Beal would go. Especially with Dallas being such a suitor for these guys, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I do expect Zach LaVine to make his way over to back to Chicago. I guess on the Supermax extension is what it is, or not even Supermax, just a normal max extension. The next guy, the biggest name probably in the market after an amazing playoff, postseason, and regular season as a whole, Jalen Brunson. I expect him to be heading back over to the New York Knicks. He will be signing that 4 year, $100 million contract that New York plans to offer Jalen Brunson. So that is the expectation there. The only other teams that really were in the mix were, I think, Sacramento was spoken of at for a moment, I believe. So I know Dallas, obviously, and then Miami as a dark horse. Supposedly they had set up a meeting and everything, and Kyle Lowry was going to be heading over to Dallas, but I just don't see that as a possibility now, especially now that the report got shut down that there was never a meeting scheduled between Pat Riley and Dallas never scheduled a meeting. So very interesting report out there. I know Miami's always interested in guys, but I was extremely shocked that they would be interested in a guy like Jalen Brunson, although that is an amazing fit. Younger guy, point guard who could just move the ball around, score as well. That would have been a dream fit for the Miami Heat. The next guy is PJ Tucker. He is expected to sign with the Philadelphia 76ers, unfortunately, on a 3 year, $30 million deal, which means $10 $10 million AAV. So it sucks because I love PJ Tucker. You guys know I'm a Heat fan. There it is, my Heat fandom, and it is right there as well. So it sucks to see PJ Tucker heading out of Miami after what was just one 3-pointer away from winning the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly going up against Golden State. And although they may have not won, they probably wouldn't have won the championship. That team still extremely special to watch and everything that they did. But yeah, I do expect Tucker to go to Philadelphia on that 3 year, $30 million deal. If it's sign and trade, that could be sign and trade. So Miami, I think, could get some compensation back if it's like a Matisse Thybulle or a Tobias Harris, which I would love either or. I know hopefully Tobias Harris under the Heat culture maybe is a lot better for him. So The next guy is DeAndre Ayton. Looks like he's not going back to Phoenix, so I only have really one spot for him. I know Detroit showed some type of interest in DeAndre Ayton, but I don't think he goes to Detroit now anymore. I think they're out of the running for him. The only other team I can think of right now is the Toronto Raptors as the next option for Ayton to be heading over to Toronto, the north of the border. They need a center big time. They're really rolling with Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher. They haven't had a true center since Jonas Valanciunas or Marc Gasol, who made his way over to Toronto. They also had Serge Ibaka for a long time there, so they're known to have big time centers, and they just don't have it. And DeAndre Ayton would provide them a big time center, and he was the number one overall pick. He was huge for Phoenix in that run, so they'll definitely be looking to possibly, you know, get a guy like DeAndre Ayton on a team with Toronto. The next guy is Bobby Portis. I only really see two spots for him: Miami and Milwaukee. Bobby Portis won the championship. He got a nice contract extension, I guess you could say, with Milwaukee. He opted out, so I could see him going back to Milwaukee and just running it back with that team. But we'll see. I mean, it's a very interesting situation there with Ayton, with Bobby Portis. I'm sorry. So we'll see what happens there once free agency opens up and negotiations are available to go through. But the next guy with a lot of breaking news, Miles Bridges, according, I think this is the TMZ I saw it on Twitter, that he was arrested for, I think, domestic violence. It was something like that. I'll put the actual tweet on the screen here, but yeah, Miles Bridges just probably not getting the max extension now. Probably may not even sign this season with how everything goes, unless he's proven innocent. He looks like he will not be getting a max extension. But let's say he does. Let's go off the point where he will go into free agency. He will get some type of extension. I like Detroit or the Pacers as the options for Miles Bridges. That's what we've heard from the report, Shams, or just ourselves with FitWise. Detroit has the most money to spend in free agency, along with New York. So I expect both teams to make an offer, but I think he will go to Detroit. The next guy, Colin Sexton. I like the LA Lakers. That will have to be a sign and trade. And then Cleveland just to go back and play with Darius Garland, who, you know, that team in Cleveland that started the season was almost the number one seed, just so people remember. So I definitely could see him going back over to Cleveland and just running it back there. Gary Payton's the only other guy, Gary Payton the second. Golden State or Indiana Pacers. I like the Indiana fit. He could kind of play that shooting guard, small forward type role there, which is much needed because you have Tyrese at the point, and then you have to kind of define what you want there with that team. But finally, Mitchell Robinson, Suns or Raptors, or yeah, Suns or Raptors. The Suns need a center. Why not go a little bit young with Mitchell Robinson here? He's not younger than DeAndre Ayton, I believe. I'll put the ages on the screen, but you look at that team and it's definitely, Mitchell Robinson would be a kind of a cool add. He'll provide some defense, rim protection there. He'll also provide you a decent amount of offense. He can get that lob up there. He'll provide some pick and roll action there. So finally, Toronto, they need a center. We pretty much spoke about why they need it. These the past amount of centers that they've had. So there you go. So other players and possible trade rumors is what I want to get into now next. We have Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Kyle Lowry, and Duncan Robinson. Definitely could see a sign and trade here when it comes to Miami trolling for Donovan Mitchell. That's the big name, Miami or New York, or he stays. Because I know they'll be breaking up that duo apart. I think it will be broken up if it's Donovan leaving or if it's Rudy Gobert leaving. One of them will leave. Then you have Toronto, the Suns, or nothing for Rudy Gobert. Obviously, we've spoken about why both teams need a center, and we don't have to get into that. And then final, Kyle Lowry's been involved in a lot of trade rumors. His contract is definitely movable in my eyes, at least. He had a good season with Miami. The issue is age and injuries. And I could see him not leaving if Jimmy Butler wants to keep him around over other guys because Jimmy and Kyle are definitely very, very close friends. So that's something else to look at there. And finally, Duncan Robinson, just after a bad season with the Heat, his contract, I think it's like 18 mil a year AAV. You could definitely move that contract. So we'll be getting into that one probably at the end of free agency or once the Heat make a move. I mean, what teams could get him? Dallas is a good team if they actually if Miami goes through the Jalen Brunson type of trade there, or anyone if they want to sign a big time free agent, Donovan Mitchell. You could go against, Bradley Beal. You could do that for Zach LaVine. I know was mentioned as a dark horse for Miami. So those are definitely some guys you could look at as options for the Heat in terms of what they want and what you could give up, which is Duncan. You could give up Omer Yurtseven. Yeah, so a lot there with free agency. Starts today, Thursday, June 30th at 6 p.m. Just tune into ESPN and all the shows that they have. That's where I would be looking for news. Shams, Woj, those are the guys to look for when it comes to NBA free agency. So thank you guys for watching. I hope to be doing an MLB trade deadline video soon. I hope to be bringing on guests on the pod soon because we definitely need to do that. Live streams as well. I really want to get back into the live stream groove with Octavio if we could get him on here and some other guys that you've seen on the channel or never have been on the channel. There'll be definitely a lot of content on Instagram. Just check out my Instagram. It's actually not KO Sports Corner. I'll put the new Instagram on the screen. I made it more of a personal Instagram, so it gets more looks and stuff. So there's a lot of player interviews there with the Marlins players. Christian Yelich is also on my Instagram there with the player interviews. So I think Perry Hill is also there, former Marlins infield coach. So all right, what is up, guys? Kevin from the KO podcast. Just about I was to upload my official NBA free agency video. Pretty much NBA league shattering news drops. Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets, goes straight to the owner and tells him he wants to be traded. And the two landing spots that he has mentioned are the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns. So that pretty much explains what he wants to do. He wants to win now. He wants to go to an organization that knows how to do it right. And Phoenix is definitely the first one, which I'm going to get into, that trade that we could be seeing here. So obviously, this is knowing that you have to add at least 3 first rounders or a good amount of first rounders. But with the cap, you would do a signing trade to bring in DeAndre Ayton. That would fill up Brooklyn's center spot. You get Jay Crowder, who's just going to be a filler role into that cap. Dario Saric is also another filler guy with cap, but also 2 guys that could very much help you out in that rotation. And then Miles Bridges, I'm sorry, not Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges, who is one of the younger guys on that Phoenix Suns team who was just extended this season or last season, and he's been one of the biggest pieces for the Suns. So that is the trade I see for Phoenix getting Kevin Durant. You add him along with Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and then they could just get a Mitchell Robinson type player in free agency. You do some type of sign and trade. Now, I wouldn't doubt Phoenix would have to add Cam Johnson into this trade, their young power forward, who would make a lot of sense because Brooklyn may want to get younger as you go through. But it looks like Brooklyn still wants to compete. They're keeping Ben Simmons. We assume that Kyrie Irving may get dealt now in some type of trade. Maybe it's some type of 3-team trade that goes along with Phoenix. But the other team that was obviously mentioned here are Miami Heat, right there that you see them, and you see them right up here, Miami Heat. So this is the trade I have set up for the Heat. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Omer Yurtseven, Strus, Vincent, and just a lot of first-round picks included in this trade. It's Kevin Durant. It's maybe arguably the best player in the NBA when you're looking at it. You pair him up with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bam's even included in the trade, how good Kevin Durant is. He always likes Bam, though, so I think we should be good with Bam staying on the Heat. Jimmy's not going anywhere. He's on a long-term extension. Tyler is definitely going in this trade, unfortunately. I love Tyler Hero, but Brooklyn's going to get themselves a young shooting guard to pair up with Kyrie Irving at the moment, unless you get both Kyrie and KD on the Miami Heat, then that's just unfair. And the trade with and Kyle Lowry just unfortunately would have to go in this trade. I know he's very close to Jimmy Butler, but you trade Kyle to get the cap working there. Duncan Robinson, also $18 million in cap. You pair him up with Joe Harris. You get the younger version of Joe Harris, basically. So it's a big time move here for not only the Brooklyn Nets, but the whole NBA. Dallas is also showing interest. You definitely would have to include your big time assets in there, maybe even Jalen Brunson in a sign and trade. But we'll see what happens in this case. But Kevin Durant possibly going. He has requested a trade. He will be with a new team next season. Will it be the Miami Heat? Will it be the Phoenix Suns? We'll have to find out. And once that news drops, it will be right here on the KO Sports Corner talking to you guys about that move. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys all in the next one. This is where we end the NBA free agency video and this part of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and let's have some fun in the NBA.